their number one thing is bias, because they're trying to put too much of a emphasis on being perfect. I'm drinking water. Deer Park, and it's not that good actually. But the the emphasis that students place, not just my own students, but I'm sure everybody else out there that's trying to learn how to trade, when they place so much emphasis on the outcome being perfect, or trying to avoid that negative experience, a losing trade, okay, or worse come that you get into a trade, it starts moving for you and you do nothing with it, you take no partial, you don't roll your stop to a point where it takes next to nothing, if at all anything, and it turns around on you. And you don't want that transaction, because even though it might not be that much in terms of money being taken from you, even demo, it's the mark against your pride, your ego, or your opinion of yourself. And many times it's the young men that come into this business, and frankly, it's the men, let's just say it that way. We don't like to have a negative knock against us. We want to be apex predators. We want to be the upper echelon of male, dominance. And that's why you see a lot of this competition, tone in trading. It's like, I'm better than you. And I toy with all these guys because it's entertainment. I mean, I'm better than them, let's be honest. But look, it's entertainment. But if you ask them, or if you study them all predominantly, they are motivated by that. Like they define themselves with that whole, scorecard mentality. And I guarantee you, these individuals are so unprofitable, and they either doing something with, fraudulent results, or they're simply never trading with real money, because they have literally so much behind the emotional aspect of their image. That's what you get. That's the outcome of a student learning how to do this business. This is not just knocking my own developing students, but any student in trading. If you have so much built up behind your result, or your week's result, or a month's result. In other words, can you take a month that's negative? Can you take a month that you lost, say, I don't know, 8 to 10%? Could you take that? Now, if you're new, if you've never really lost that kind of money, then you could probably say, well, I think I could. Okay, let's go and say you have a $250,000 account and you lost $25,000. Could you stomach that? Would it be something that you would feel paralyzed by, or would you feel like, I got to get that back? I cannot have my month close negative $25,000. I can't live with myself. My spouse will ask me, my significant other. What would I say then? How would they think of me? First of all, let's get one thing straight. It doesn't fucking matter what anybody else thinks about you as a trader, because you're the person in the driver's seat. You're it. So your results are yours. And stop fucking sharing them with other people. Stop trying to do all this stuff with MyFX book. Okay. MyFX book, unless you're doing signals, okay, unless you're trading and giving out signals, there's absolutely no reason for a MyFX book. There's zero, none. And there's a young man out there, and I'm not going to say his name because I'm not trying to kick sand in his face. I could if I was that type of guy. I'm not. But they're floundering. And I've watched him move from his verified results to now it's a high risk account, justifying why there was drawdown. That's a young man that's doing the very thing as I'm talking about right now, because he's trying to live up to a public image of himself, everybody's opinion of him, because he barked, he drew a crowd, and now he can't handle that pressure. Why would you want to make trading harder for yourself? It's already hard. It's so hard. If you look at the post I made on my Twitter right before doing this stream or space, whatever it is, I asked everyone, what would you like to ask? And there was a few ladies that asked, hey, I'm assuming they were ladies. I apologize if the name made me think that you were female and you really aren't. But the question came up, like, how do we endure the hardships, basically? And how do you get past all that psychological barrier? And how do you keep going when it feels hard? Well, first of all, you got to give yourself permission. Like I've told my private students, like, you have to give yourself permission to do it wrong once in a while. Like, you have to do it. Because if you think you're going to walk out there, open up an account, even if you trade with such small, insignificant amounts of money in terms of risk, if you think that that's going to be the solution to why you're going to never have a losing trade, that's nonsense. Like, you're going to lose money. It's going to happen. You need to plan for it. You need to make yourself ready for it. Psychologically, preparing yourself, okay, I'm going to lose money. What happens if I do lose money? Most of you want to just, teach me how to buy and sell. How do I know when the bias is bullish or bearish? Because if I can just have that, all I got to do is take a fair value gap. See, now we went from, if ICT could just get to the point already and tell us how to determine bias, which I've already done. I've done multiple lessons on that. But the problem is you want everyday bias. And again, you're taking a sound principle or teaching or lecture point that if you just simply use the way I teach it, wait for these choice setups, you'll know the bias when it matters most. But the problem is you're impatient because you want it to be everyday bias. You want day trading to be everyday trading. And in everyday trading, you want every session trading. And in every session trading, because you said, ICT, you can trade the hourly candle and trade like the daily range. Yes, I can. But I can do that. It's not the same thing for you to expect you are able to do it. You see what's happening? You're placing so much of an Olympic expectation on yourself. You've taken the normal threshold of difficulty, which comes to everyone in this industry. And I was not exempt of that. I mean, I went through a lot. 6 years of thinking I had it. Nope. Back to the drawing board. Thinking I had it. Nope. Went back to the drawing board. I technically had it 3.5 years in, but I abandoned something and chased other things. And I went back to where I started seeing results, and then boom, there it was. But you're going to have hardships. You're going to have issues where, you're going to feel like you got it figured out. You'll have a week or two, maybe even a month, where you just did everything right. And this is where you get in trouble, young men. You think that you got it all figured out, and then you have a losing trade. And it might not even be a significant loss. It might be something so small, 0.5% or whatever. You save the stop from getting hit full on. Like you had a 1% risk or 2% risk, and you saved it from getting knocked out, but still it's a loss. Now, you're not looking at the fact that you were able to mitigate the total 1 or 2% hit to your account because you protected the stop loss. You saw it was going to turn on you. You closed it before it went to your stop. That's commendable. That's a skill set, not to promote the idea of paranoia, but if you're beginning to trade with live funds, if you do that initially and you are aggressive about cutting your losses, that alone would probably keep you alive long enough to find a way to grind through the adversities. Because when you get a real good winning trade, it doesn't wait around. It just takes off. It just runs. But the problem with this business is you want to second guess yourself so much because you're trying to avoid losing. This is the number one characteristic of a losing trader. You're willing to hold on to a losing or questionable trade. Come hell or high water, you'll hold that. It isn't moving like you wanted it to, but damn it, you're not letting go of it. Because what happens if you close it and it runs in your favor? What happens if you're fucking wrong and you just held on to it too long? That's what usually happens. See, if your trade is right, it's going to show you right away. If it's hanging around and just beating around the bush. It's not trying to run off and move into profit for you. That's a warning sign. Either you entered too early or you have a dog. Okay. And unfortunately, holding on to a questionable position sucks because you're spending mental capital. Whereas if you flip that coin, because you're placing so much emphasis on not doing it wrong, when you do get a quick runner and it starts moving, you abandon where you think it's going to go and you close the trade quickly. That paradigm shift that's necessary to fix that, that's something that has to happen over time. And it's a conditional thing that you forge through coping skills, going through the processes that I've taught in great detail on my YouTube channel. But the problem is, you're one of those individuals that want ICT to get right to the point. The point is, you don't listen. That's the point. The point is, you don't fucking listen. You're not trying to take good advice, and you just want to do it your way. You want Burger King fucking mentorship, okay? Have it your way. Well, have it your way mentorships don't make millionaires. That's the way that works, okay? It creates emotionally charged traders that hold on to losing trades too long. And then when they fail and blow up in your face, that creates that loser cycle where you want to try to get it back right away. You know what that means? You're going to lose more fucking money. And it just keeps repeating and repeating. And then finally you blow your account. And then what happens? You beat yourself up because you're going to look at the trades and say, why the hell did I even do that? There was nothing in the market. Why did I buy that? There was no fair value gap. There was no order block. It didn't even take sell side liquidity. What the fuck was I doing? You're chasing emotional charges that you put behind that decision. You completely abandon all reasoning and why you even are trading. You're not the only one that's done that. Everybody does that. Everybody does it. Why? Why is it so hard? Because you're competing with yourself. You have to live with yourself. You have to wake up in your own skin tomorrow and the day after. And the decisions that you make today and yesterday and what you'll make tomorrow come with consequences. And see, you want consequences to be sugar-coated, almost orgasmic in trading. You want them to be happy endings. Not to sound crude, but that's what you really want. You want a chance meeting with a stranger and a knock on your bedpost. That's what you want. You want every night to be a one-night stand and it's all good, feel-good moments. I'm sorry. Sometimes you're going to wake up next to a hand grenade, and this is the way it is. And you are going to hurt yourself. But you got to say, look, you know what? I got pip drunk. I made some poor decisions. Thankfully, I'm not married to this person. And just slip out before they wake up and just live on, continue to trade and try not to do that same thing again. And this goes for both the ladies and the men. You know what I'm talking about. Somebody just whispered, I just did that last weekend. How's you know? I'm watching. I got my eyes on you. But the reason why it's so difficult trading is because you're competing against a fucking savage in the making. You are such a formidable adversary that you alone are the one that's holding yourself back. Nobody else is holding you back. These yahoos on the internet that say what you're trying to learn doesn't work and all this, that didn't stop you. People commenting saying, oh, well, you're doing this and you're doing that. This is the real way of doing it. That doesn't motivate you to go chase that stuff. You're sticking to this. But you're the adversary. You're the one that's making it hard for yourself because you're trying to make Olympic feats out of something that's not necessary. You want every transaction to be perfect. And I mentioned this to my private group. I said, unfortunately, my approach to trading, and when I show my examples, and I show my examples are very consistent. You have people out there say, well, he's only cherry picking. When I show you the full account and I show you that there's no other trade executions and this is the only thing there is, and I call the only moves I trade on, I call the levels, it's never going to be enough. So I don't care. When I go into 2023, I'm not trying to prove anything. I want to just enjoy teaching. But my students, unfortunately, see this in me, and they think that that is something that they can obtain right away, right from Jump Street. Like they think, okay, I can do what ICT is saying in the charts. When he points to it, I can see it. It's real easy. But when he doesn't talk about it, I can't see it, and I try to do it on my own, and it blows up in my face. Okay, well, you're trying to force an issue. Number one, you're trying to force something that's not practical. You're trying to be someone that you can't be right now. And that means highly precise, detail oriented, and results driven. See, you're trying to be results driven without the two factors I just mentioned. Like you have to build discipline. That means you got to go through trial and error, feel that pain that you're trying to avoid. So you're trying to hide from that. Like, no, I don't want to get a paper cut. I don't want to get a scratch. Somebody's going to ask me what I did today, and it's going to be a losing trade, or they're going to ask me, why did you do that? There was no reason, because everybody wants to be an armchair quarterback. Everybody wants to tell somebody how they do it better, but they ain't trying to show you what they did. Okay, so that's the problem with this industry. It's so ego driven. It's so image driven. You got to remove all that stuff. Remove all of it. Your expectation should be low. Low. Very, very low objectives. Low hanging fruit. That's how I teach it. And if you're comfortable in your own skin with that, even if you get it wrong, those little bruises, those little nicks, those paper cuts, when they occur, it's not that big of a deal. It might be a nuisance. You might look at it later and say, oh, well, yeah, I really didn't see what I thought I saw at the time. But you know what? From a monetary stance, it really didn't do too much damage to me. And, I'm still learning. What did you just do by doing that? Number one, you acknowledge that you made a mistake. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. Mistakes are opportunities for you to learn. But why the fuck do you want to blow your account to learn? You're not learning anything from that. Okay? You're learning to gamble. That's what you're doing. You're learning how to gamble. And honestly, there's very, very few gamblers that make it in this industry long term. They just don't exist. I'm not saying that you can't gamble and make money, but the problem is the gamblers don't generally know when to get up and walk away from the table. They think, well, I had a flash in the pan, win in crypto. I bought it. It ran up really good. It's going to keep doing that. Well, they found out that it doesn't work that way. Okay. And everybody that goes into these crypto markets think that they're going to see that stellar bull run again. And they discovered, just like every other market, that's not what they do. Because they have unrealistic expectations. They have Olympic expectations on a market. They don't always parabolically move. And if you have a trade and you put a trade on, if it doesn't give you immediate feedback that you're doing the right thing or holding a potential winner, you have my permission to kill the trade and feel no reason why you should feel any regret about it, even if it takes off in your favor. Because if you do this as general practice, you're going to find that you will get out of dog trades. Lying dogs make no money. Okay? They got to get up and run. If they ain't running, they're not going to get to your draw on liquidity. That means they're not going to go to your profit. You're not going to be with partials. You're not going to pay yourself. You can't get paid, and it's going to be frustrating. So why the hell are you in it? Why are you in that trade? You're trying to make a diamond out of a turd. You can polish it all the hell you want. You're just going to get shitty hands. That's all that's ever going to happen. You're going to have a mess trying to turn something that's really a bunch of shit. It's never going to get any better. Why? Because in your brain, in your mind, you're telling yourself, if I get out of this, even though I know in my gut this isn't moving right now, but if I close it, it's going to run. And I'm going to feel like shit about that. But you don't do that when you start thinking, this isn't moving for me. Let me start giving myself a time stop. Ooh, what is that? Something I do. If I see something, like if I buy a fair value gap, okay, for instance, look at the last trade this did on the S&P. I shared it on non-farm payroll a little bit after non-farm payroll's first hour or so. I went long, and I traded up into a sell sign of balance, buy sign of efficiency, SIBI. Let's say I bought that fair value gap, and it just hung around for, I don't know. I can't recall what time frame I was on when I was looking at, but let's just say it stayed inside the fair value gap for, if it was a 5-minute chart, say there was 5 candles that it was constantly dipping into it. Okay. I don't mind a PD array being revisited and repriced too, and that's fine. But if it's hanging around like that and hasn't ran for the buy side, I start giving myself a time stop. So I'll give it usually 30 seconds to a minute. As soon as I recognize this and I start feeling that, 30 seconds to 60 seconds, I'm counting down. I'm literally looking at the time in the lower right-hand corner of my charts. I'm saying, okay, if I don't see positive movement in my favor, I need speed and distance. Okay. If you ever watched any of my recordings where I'm doing executions or whatever, sometimes you'll see me type in there and say, I want to see speed and movement. I want to see how fast it can run away from where it's at. I'm doing that countdown in my head. Whenever I type that out, the internal dialogue that you're not aware of, I'm telling you right now, is I'm placing a time stop on it. Yes, I have a stop loss on it. So if it is against me, it'll stop me out and take me out of the trade at a loss that I'm willing to accept. But I also, at these points where the market starts to like hang around and isn't really running for me yet, but it hasn't really scared me to the point where my stop loss is in jeopardy. It just isn't moving around. It's just like dead. It's a dog. It's a lying dog. It hasn't got up and started running yet. As soon as I start feeling that, I say, okay, look at the time. It's got up to a minute to start moving for me. Now, some of you might, well, good grief, Michael. 30 seconds, a minute, that's not enough time. Maybe for you. But I know that there have been so many times in my career where if I just simply would have done that, I would have avoided lots of losing trades. Lots of losing trades by simply limiting the amount of time I hold on to dogs. You got to let your runners show themselves. And if they don't want to join the race, move on to the next one. And yes, that means commission costs are spent and you didn't take anything out of it. So what? That doesn't feel bad when you do that. Because if it doesn't run, which that's going to be the majority of the time, but your brain is telling you it's going to run and it's going to do 500 handles. No, it's not. Stop thinking like that. You have no idea how every trader that's unprofitable thinks the same way. It's almost like they read from the same books. I'm saying that with my tongue in cheek. That's what you've been conditioned to believe, to accept, and want in trading. You want to hold on to a trade. You got to trade your plan and plan your trade, right? So what does that mean? Well, you got to get into the trade and come hell or high water, your stop loss gets hit or it moves in your favor. That's bullshit. That's why people lose money. That's the reason why people lose money. You have to kill it. If it's not working for you, fire that position, get rid of it, hire another one. And when you get the right candidate, it will work for you. But you cannot be fucking around with these lackluster moves that aren't delivering for you. If they're not running for you, as soon as you start feeling that unction, you know what, I wish this thing would move. As soon as you just thought that or said it out loud, that's the time to start the timer. Okay, you got 30 seconds to 60 seconds. If it doesn't start moving in my favor, just thought that or said it out loud, that's the time that aren't delivering for you. If they're not running for you, as soon as you start feeling that unction, you know what, I wish this thing would move. As soon as you just thought that or said it out loud, that's the time to start the timer. Okay, you got 30 seconds to 60 seconds. If it doesn't start moving in my favor, this is a dog and I'm killing it. And I don't give a fuck what it does. I guarantee you, if you do this, you will protect yourself more then you'll find these big runoff moves that you think you're going to lose if you get out of the trade. Let me ask you a question. How many times do you see big runoff moves? Now, you see them all the time in hindsight. But how many times in your own personal analysis have you seen big runoff moves? You're not seeing them every 5 minutes, folks. Come on, be realistic. And it gets back to why trading is so hard. Your imagination is running wild. You don't have experience. You're just now beginning to learn how these markets work. And you think that every setup is going to be these mega trades. It doesn't work that way. Bread and butter setups happen every single day, which is the reason why I beat that drum all the time. That's not an Olympic feat. Simple little things. The little things repeat every day, and you can make fortunes with little movements that are highly consistent. But you can't over leverage them and hold on to them and demand that they pay out bigger yields than they're really warranted. When you have these equity highs that you slip away from and you have drawdown, it literally feels like you're walking up to a mountain and you're looking up, getting a kink in your neck as you look up at the height, and you tell yourself, I gotta get all the way back up there. When before, when you were building it up, you didn't look at that like that. You were just trying to take one trade at a time. It was just one step at a time, like a rock climber. Where's my next foothold? Where's my next gripping point? That's all you cared about. You're doing the right thing. That's following the model. Now what's happening is when you are in drawdown, you're looking up at that mountain, that peak that you slid down from. And you're thinking, how am I going to get back up there? Well, fuck, how did you get there the first time? Incremental, modular steps. Basic, boring, following the rules, doing this, expecting that, doing this, expecting that, one piece at a time. Think about it. Before you go into drawdown, you're not trying to do crazy shit. You're just trying to do what's the next trade. Do that. Stop. Make your money, be done, turn the charts off, wait for the next session, wait for the next trading day. It's business. But now you're looking at that same business that you now have a loss. You're in drawdown. You're looking up at that old equity high, and you're telling yourself, this is going to be so hard to get back up to that. I just want to get to it really, really fast. And you're wrestling with these impulsive feelings that you got to get in there and just do really big trades because you just got to get through it. The quicker I can climb back up there, the better. When that's absolutely the worst mentality to have. You need to tell yourself the same thing you did before. I'm going to find my next setup based on the model. I'm going to risk less money. I'm submitting to the ideal now because I have to do this at a longer duration. I've pushed my finish line further away from me in time because I've created this drawdown. The drawdown is not it's not an end of a career. It's a struggling point you have to wrestle through, yes. But the wonderful thing is, once you go through that first drawdown and you mitigate all of that, but you do so correctly. The worst thing you can do is go in there and YOLO, you only live once type trading, to try to get it all back in one fell swoop. It's over. Because what you'll think if you are able to do that by luck is that you're better than you really are. And that drawdown has not had any lasting impression on you to prevent you from being reckless in the future. So you're looking up at that peak, that equity high that you drew down from, losing trade here, losing trade there, and now you're in drawdown. You're not to look at that and say, I got to quickly get back there. No, you don't. Because when you were taking your trades that got you there, you didn't say, I have to be there by this day. Nobody had that mentality, that mindset. When you were getting to that equity high, you were just taking one trade, next trade, next trade. That's all you're doing. But now, because you're in drawdown, your whole entire perspective about yourself, your abilities, and how it is that you're going to get back up there is completely distorted. That's what makes drawdown become a blown account. Not understanding that mentality that you're now holding is extremely fragile. It's so brittle that the next trade you put on, you're going to be so hypersensitive to every little fluctuation that it's going to make you scared. You're going to be impatient about it. You will not be willing to sit through the stop being hit again. You're going to be more likely to not want to use a stop loss like he did on Friday morning. And then when you don't have a stop and it goes past what your stop would have been, you'll be wrestling with, well, if I get out, it might be just going just past where my stop would have been, and then it reverses, and you start telling yourself that bullshit. You start giving yourself pillow talk on a one-night stand. Oh, honey, I really enjoyed the time with you.
I want to talk about this real quick. Well, Judgment Day, I already got. You can see the video about Judgment Day. You already noticed, but Southside took the reason why Southside got took because of this gap. It created this before taking out Southside. So those were created for a reason. I call it Judgment Day because it's like Southside is eternal life, or Southside is judgment, and then God goes back up to your life and sees what you did in your life, and it depends if you're gonna go to heaven or hell. That's how I look at it, but so I show this. So we created this Southside, and now it really look good to me in itself. As soon as I see it at that time, I'm like, yeah. Right. So I have. Oh my God. Sheesh. But yeah. Always easy.
Let me just stay a little bit longer with you, when really you just want them to fall asleep so you can sneak out. You know you shouldn't be in that trade, but you start doing pillow talk. Yeah, I'll be all right. It's probably going to turn around, and the whole time it's just going deeper into you, running that sword deeper into you, and more damage is being done. And then finally you can't handle it and you get out. And then it moves in your favor. Not because your trade would have panned out, but because it's simply just doing something else. But your mind's going to see, oh, see, I did it wrong. And now you're going to go in there and chase it again. That's exactly what goes on in every trader's mind. When they're in drawdown, that's exactly what it is. So the only thing that is actually good about this is it happened on a Friday. So it forces 48 hours of decompression. You have to take time. You have to reset yourself. You got to remind yourself with positive self-talk that nothing has changed. These markets are still going to book the same way they book all the time. They're going to run for liquidity. They're going to go from premium to discount, discount to premium. They're going to run to inefficiencies. Everything's going to operate on time. You just did something incorrect. In this moment, because he's new, he doesn't have but just a couple of days of journals to look at. So he doesn't really have a plethora of experience of leaning back on when it was good. This is why it's essential for you to be demoing, or not demoing, the journaling. That way, when you start practicing with forward testing and you feel like you have encountered a period where maybe they changed the algorithm, they're not changing shit, but you'll feel like everything's broke because you're just doing it wrong. And you'll feel depressed. You'll feel like you're not getting it. You go back to your journal and you read those entries where you saw this coming. The chart looks like this, and you feel better about it. And it gives you the motivation. It cheerleads you through it. He doesn't have that. So it's a lot harder for him right now because he's shamed, wanted to impress dad, wanted to do well, wanted to do something independent all of himself, And then he did that. And I told him, I said, listen, don't be afraid because you did this to be able to go forward. Don't let it bog you down to make you feel like you're going to never be able to do this, because you're going to tell yourself all this weekend that you made a mistake and you want to be able to go back in time and never have done it. It's every trader's, regret. When they lose money, we all want to go back in time and not push the button on that trade, or start trading on that day when you knew there really isn't anything in there to be trading, but I got time to get in and push the button. Maybe I'll get lucky and get some kind of a win. All those things we know after the fact, where hindsight's perfect in 2020, and you can go back and pinpoint what it is that you did wrong. He's experiencing that for the first time right now. He's having to come to terms with nobody did it. Nobody did it to him. And he's looking for some way internally how he can take the responsibility and place it on something outside of himself. Just like I did when I was 20, and just like you listening to me. Even the people that say I'm a fraud and my stuff doesn't work, that shit's the truth about you too. You want to find some kind of external reason why you fucked up, because it's uncomfortable. And that's what this industry does. It's a perfect mirror. It's better than the mirror when you go to your restroom and you look at yourself in the morning, brushing your teeth, getting yourself ready. That mirror just shows you a reflection of you. This industry shows you who you really are. Because you can lie in that mirror. You can comb your hair and put makeup on and shave your face and put contact lenses on that are a different color. You can do all kinds of shit to change that. You can't wear a mask in this industry. All the masks fall off. As soon as you push that button, the real you is exposed. The real person inside of you, the person making the decisions, the one that's driving drunk behind the buys and the sells. That's it. That's the person that's responsible. And that sometimes is extremely difficult for an individual to take. It's extremely stressful. It's alarming sometimes when you discover, wow, I don't really have it all together. I thought I had it figured out. I had all these things, planned with all this success. And then when you put that trade on and you wrecked yourself, and then you tried to fix it, not knowing what it is you're doing, and then becoming impulsive, instead of realizing that, okay, I caused this situation, let me take a step back and slow down. That doesn't happen. It's speed up, do more of the same stupid stuff, and get worse. Why do you do that? Cortisol, adrenaline, and not knowing what you're doing. Remember, in your mind, it's the equivalent of you standing in your house with every wall on fire. The room you're in is filling up with smoke. It's an emergency. Outwardly, someone looking at you, they would never feel like that's what's going on inside your head. They happen to walk by, look at you at your trading desk. Yeah, you're in drawdown. Maybe you're not smiling, but they don't feel like you're going through any kind of emergency. But inside, the whole fucking world's coming to an end. And then what are you doing?
Nerdy.
You're trying to put out all those fires. That's what he experienced. That's what I experienced every time I blew an account. That's exactly what you experience all the time too. Send me a tweet and tell me, hell yeah, if that's exactly what you encountered when you blew your account. And you'll see, you're not the only one. Everybody has gone through this at least a dozen times. Not just once, a dozen times. And until you get to that point where you know your model and you have mastered yourself, an 18-year-old kid, especially a male, he is never going to be in control of himself. Not at 18. There's too many chemicals, being pushed through his natural development. I mean, he's at the peak of his testosterone too, so he feels like he can do everything. Like he's superhuman. And that's why it's a little bit harder of a prick to his ego and pride when any failure comes, because he thinks that it should be the same feeling he has when he does anything else and succeeds at. So it's good for him to be humbled. It's good for him to learn like he's learning right now. It's also good for Dad because I didn't give him money, because he would have probably spent more money in drawdown or loading the account without me being there. So in a lot of ways, I'm very thankful that he took this initiative to go this route. And I think that's the reason why he wanted to do it, because he knew his own impulses. He had it in his head. He didn't tell me, but I can tell you now, as I'm talking to you about and thinking about it, he had that in mind. Once he figured out what he thought he was going to be able to do, as soon as he felt that he could do that, when he was given the car keys without me in the car with him, riding shotgun, he was just going to go, he'd drive to town, and he was going to drive it until the brakes came off. And thankfully, he ran out of gas. And that threshold that they put you through, or two, and stop you, that's what he hit. So he didn't go off the bridge, but he hit a tree. So now he has damage that he has to get corrected. Still has the car to drive, $149,000 of that funded account thing, but I think it's like 147 something. Okay, but he has to be very careful. And I told him, I said, you got to listen and don't do anything apart from me being next to you. You don't have to do a reset. Because he was saying that's worst case scenario, Dad. If I would have blown it out, because that's what he was willing to accept. We could just do a reset. I don't care. I'll do that. But I just wanted to get it back right away. Why? Why did you feel like you have to get it back right away? Because I felt like I had to get it back. It just felt like I had to. No, you were telling yourself that. Nothing has to happen. Nothing. Nothing has to happen. You have to be comfortable between trades. You cannot have any kind of overwhelming impulsiveness to get in there to make something back or make something more. If you're doing that, that's the improper mindset. You are gambling. I promise you, if you're listening to me right now, if you are unstable and highly emotional, impatiently waiting to get into a trade, the best advice I can tell you is go do something else for 30 minutes. Come back. If you miss the move, who cares? That's not the last trade that's going to form. But if you lose your shit about having missed that move, you are a gambler. You are absolutely an uncontrolled gambler. You feel like you got to be in every move. I'm not teaching you to do that. And yesterday afternoon, I basically sat down with my son, and my older students they were privy to what I was doing. I was showing him buying and selling, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I said, listen, just because I can do this, just because I can do that, doesn't mean I sit in front of these charts and do that all day long. I want to pick my shots. I want to be able to do what makes sense to me. And the trade I know is likely to occur, and I'm not in a rush to get into, and everything lines up, and I have all the signatures I'm looking for. They're the ones I tweet to you. They're the ones that I'm going in and telling you, okay, I'm going long here. I'm taking a short. And they, boom, take off. Well, there's one. I did lose one. And I see people tweeting all the time, you did that on purpose. You took a, no, I got it wrong that day. No, I'm not infallible. I did it wrong. But most times I'm not doing it wrong. I'm calling it before it happens, and there it is. But I showed him, I said, listen, just because I can do that doesn't mean I go in there and go hog wild with it. It's not necessary. You need to master yourself Just because you have the sword in your hand and you can swing it all around doesn't mean that that's what you should be doing. You should keep it in its scabbard, unsheathe it, do one stroke. The item. It's the art of drawing a sword. You pull that blade out. As you're drawing it, it's also a cut. You remove the blood and then put it back in the scabbard. The cut and the drawing of the sword is all one motion. You're not out there like Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th fucking swinging around like a machete, trying to cut everything. And that's exactly what you become, a crazed, homicidal fucking psychopath when you're in drawdown. You literally have a machete in your hand and you think every candlestick's a fucking tree that you gotta chop down. This is the one I'm gonna do next. Oh yeah, you printed that and you got... And the whole time, you're hacking yourself up. You're not cutting anything down except for your equity base. And you don't even realize it because you're a crazed homicidal maniac because you did it to yourself. And you're looking at it like somebody else did it to you or something else did it to you. And you did it. You have lost the plot. You've lost control of yourself. And the only thing that fixes that, time. You have to separate yourself, move away from the stimuli that's causing you to want to do those things. Ground yourself, let the adrenaline and the cortisol burn off. It's going to take about a good 30 minutes. Cortisol lasts a little bit longer than the adrenaline. Adrenaline, several minutes and it's gone. Cortisol takes a little bit more time to burn that off. And then once you are in a proper state of mind, then you can deal with other things in your personal life and not be so snappy and punchy, ready to fight and have an argument. You won't feel like every little word that's being spoken to you has needles on it, pricking you. You won't argue with your spouse. You won't yell at your kids. You won't kick the dog. You won't get fired at your job. But when you're looking at that drawdown and you're staring up at it like it's a mountain that you're never going to be able to climb back up, and you have to hurry up and get back up there, like that's the thing that has to happen. Stop and listen to me for a second, okay? Nothing has changed. Everything is exactly the way it is right now and how it was exactly the same way when you were at the equity high. The system, the concepts, the methodology, and the way these markets book have not changed. The only thing that has changed is your perception about yourself, your own ability, and what you're going to do next. See, you have a sense of heightened concern. You had a house fire. You want to hurry up and get your house restored. Does it happen like that in real life? No. You lose some things that you can't get back. That sense of, I'm doing everything right, this feels great, this is a lot easier than I thought it was while you were making that equity high. Now you have loss. You didn't need to second guess yourself in the beginning, but now you have to second guess yourself. Am I going to do that to myself again? What am I going to do? If this trade turns against me, how am I going to feel? See, now you have that in your mind now. And you're feeling it when you don't know how to trade, which causes a great deal of anxiety, performance anxiety. And it's easy to talk yourself out of ever staying with this when that happens. And a lot of people quit. A lot of people quit, but still push the button because they can't take themselves away from it because they're in a state of mind, they're impulsive, they're reckless, and they just aren't willing to wrestle themselves into discipline. They've already quit. Subconsciously, they know they're never going to be able to do it, but they just want to push the button. Much like I mentioned before in a Twitter space, and I think I talked about it one time on a YouTube video, a lecture somewhere. On my first year honeymoon, I told you I took $100, that's all I had, to take input into what do you call them? The slot machines. I could have brought more, but all I wanted to bring was $100 because I knew the chance of me making any money off of that is next to none. So I limited myself to $100. And I tried eventually, after being there for hours, trying to lose the 100 hours. Like, I was down, just wanted to be done with it, but I didn't want to walk away because I was like, this is stupid. Like, I just want to lose it and be done. That's exactly what happens when you trade with the state of mind that my son has right now. You want to be able to say that you got pushed out of it by some external force. Yeah, stupid brokers. Yeah, the stupid market makers. They did it to me again. They got my stop. Oh. Because then it makes it a lot easier to deal with. You didn't mess up. It was somebody else that did it to you. You didn't do anything wrong. You did everything wrong. You did everything wrong. And you have no sense of responsibility. And unfortunately, in this industry, responsibility is always yours. It's yours. It's not mine as the mentor. It's not your brokers. It's not the funded account company. It's not the company that you keep. It's not your spouse. It's yours. And some people that come into my fold or in this industry don't ever have the responsibility that's required to be a trader. And when they're first introduced to that necessity of having responsibility by having losing trades, when they did it to themselves, oh, this stuff doesn't work, it's a fraud, it's a scam. Despite how many times have I shown you beforehand what's going to happen, you've seen me executing trades, you have seen me use a live account, it's on my YouTube channel. I showed you every day, logging into it. I showed you losing trades, I showed you drawdown, correcting the drawdown, doubling the account in 5 weeks with one contract. But you didn't show 30 years of that. Get the fuck out of here. I don't need to. I'm showing you every day what it's going to do. Everybody that has a weak mind, they're going to manifest that outwardly in this industry when they suck ass. You can see who the weak people are. The people that chat too much. These things don't work. These things aren't profitable. These people are broke. They're in that state of mind that my son's feeling right now, and they never got out of it. They never got out of it. They're the guy that never got picked to be on the team. They're the last one picked, and they got a chip on their shoulder. My son has a chip on his shoulder right now. And I'm eager to see how he contends with that, because he's extremely competitive. Very competitive. He has told me to my face, and I love it, because Dad, I'm going to be better than you. And damn it, I fucking want to see it. I want to see it. I want to do everything I can to make that fucking happen. I want that. I want to see it. I hope I live long enough to see him smoke my ass and be able to do it way better than me. I want that. And how he handles this moment right now. This one here. It's like a ember. It's not a flame. It's just a small little ember. And I'm trying to handle it extremely delicately. I don't want it to go out, but I also don't want to drop it into a combustible liquid that would turn into a wildfire, because then you get reckless, screw jobs like you see on the internet. They're just wired differently now because they're bent. They're not successful. They go around calling everybody a fraud, and they don't produce anything to show that they can be a trader that's consistent. The only thing to talk about is toxic stuff, pointing out anything you could be viewed as subpar, but not acknowledging the things that are working and being called into account before it happens. I want to keep his passion burning. Like, I don't want to smolder it, which is why I said earlier, I want to jump his ass as his dad. Like, you fucked up, but it's not the right time to do that. When we get back to the equity high, then I'm going to chew his fucking ass out. He'll be in a better position because he can see, okay, yeah, I get it, Dad. I watched what we did to get it back here. It's fine. Now it makes sense. But if I kick him in his face, rip his, head off and shaking by the lapels while he's feeling what he's feeling now, the only thing that would do is make him feel worse about what he's done. And that's just going to compound that loser's mentality that could really stay with him longer and create much more of a hardship for him to learn, because he'll have a scar. See, he's not looking at me as the reason that I didn't inflict the scar that he's going to have. I didn't create that for him. He's going to walk through his career now knowing that he himself did that. So I'm allowing this condition to do what it does in everybody. But also I'm going to coach him, encouraging him along as his dad and also as an inner circle trader. Yes, it sucks. But you got to fucking suck it up, Buttercup. Because this is exactly what it's like the rest of your fucking career. When you go into drawdown, it is never fun. It's not fun. But I'm not, oh, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm losing money. I have a losing trade. Oh, this sucks. Fuck that. Okay, I got that one wrong. What am I going to do next? Done. Handled. I have a process. He doesn't have a process. You didn't have a process when you went into drawdown, and then when you eventually blew your account. You had no process. You were in that burning house, and you were trying to put out the house fire because you didn't want all of your loved ones' things and your things, the things that you treasure in your life, you didn't want to see them all go up in smoke because you can't replace them. That's exactly what you're thinking about with that equity high. You think that's a family heirloom that you can't replace. The fuck out of here. That thing is something that you're going to go past. All this is a slingshot. Drawdowns are a slingshot. You go up to an equity high, you draw back to get more energy, and then let it go. Boom! New equity high. Eventually, you draw down again. Okay, that's no problem. I'm drawing down like a slingshot. And then, boom! New equity high. That's how this shit works. But when you first encounter it, you've been driving, you're doing right, everything correctly, and then all of a sudden, you did something silly, you did something stupid, you pushed it a little too much, and you have a losing trade. Okay, stop. Don't go back in. Wait till the next trading day. Give yourself some time. Remind yourself outwardly, with your own mouth, speaking it, tell yourself, there is no emergency. This losing trade is not an emergency. This is not something that I have to contend with immediately. I don't have to put this out as a fire. It's not a fire. It's a flat tire. It's not a barbecue. Your fucking car's not on fire on the side of the road. You had a flat tire. That's it. Change the fucking tire. That's all. Change the tire and get back on the road again. You can't do that if you melt the fucking car down with a car fire. You just can't do it. You have to get another one. Either reset the account or refund your account. That's not fun. It's expensive. So to avoid that, just let it be a flat tire. Stop. That's one losing trade. Okay, now you're angry. You're pissed off. Are you in the right state of mind to take a trade? No. So you have to have that as a process. As soon as you take a losing trade, boom, stop. Get up, walk away. 30 minutes minimum. I don't give a fuck what you think you're seeing in the charts. I don't care what I'm talking about on Twitter. Oh, it's going to be a big day. It's going to do this. It's going to draw here. Stop. Turn my ass off on Twitter. Don't look at social media. Turn your charts off. Leave for 30 minutes. Minimum. And when you come back, if you feel impulsive, like you've got to be doing something, you are in a gambler's mindset and do not absolutely touch anything. But it's hard to pick up on all that unless you put some time between your loss and your next entry. I promise you, your next entry is going to be impulsive. It's going to be just reckless, stupid shit. Everybody does that. Everybody does that on their first drawdown. Everybody does it. It's weird. I literally, it would be amazing if people would.
Working across teams is tough, but Asana helps you handle it.
do a testimonial and say, yeah, this is what it was like, and try to walk everybody that would be willing to listen to it. I love it. Like, I would love it if there would be a channel on YouTube.
My mic's on.
And I'm willing to be the one to do the
This stuff made me more
what it was
freaking
like on my
angry.
first losing trade that took me into drawdown, and I believe my first account. I would absolutely have no problem doing that, with the expectation that other
so
people would do it too.
this right here,
Neil, you would hear.
I thought it
It would
closed
be like someone
that.
saying the same thing from the same fucking script.
If it would have closed bears,
It's amazing
I would
how
have.
it always happens.
But I can't
same
help
shit.
it, bro.
What goes on in our
You know, what
minds,
haven't
what we're
happened,
thinking,
bro.
what we're fearful of,
I'll
what
be
we
back in
have to
30
do right away.
because I just want to stay
happen
locked.
right now,
No,
for
I
fuck's
don't
sake.
wanna-
I gotta get my money back.
I don't want to just sit here.
No, you don't.
Just
No,
whatever.
you
So I'll
don't.
be back.
You don't need to do that. But you do when you're live streaming, and you gotta make your yourself look smart. You're going to prove to the world you can trade better than ICT. Fuck, maximum loss day. That was insane. Man, I wish he'd start YouTube and live again. Missing it. But the point is this. My son wrecked himself. No problem. You got a flat tire. You got a fender bender. It is what it is. Dad knows how to fix that. No problem. But I can't fix what he's holding on in his brain as things to worry about, what to focus on. That needs to be guided, instructed, navigated with proper encouragement, but still allowing for that sting. I need that to be there for at least another week or so. Like he needs to fear himself, not the market. Because that's what it's like when this industry puts you through something like this. It exposes you. It doesn't make your method, the teacher that taught you, the concept itself, it doesn't make any of that any different than what it was before you did something improper. It makes you shine a spotlight right on you. You, the operator, the person that pushed that button, the person that opened themselves up to risk. You were the one driving the car. You were the one that got drunk. You were the one that caused all that carnage. And you have to own it. And some people that come to this industry aren't equipped to own it. They want to blame everything and someone else for their stupidity, their impulsiveness, their lack of self-control. And you have to own it. And you have to be strong and identify it. As soon as you start feeling that way, identify it what it is. It's not weakness to stop trading. It's not weakness to go home and draw down. That is not weakness. That is absolutely the right way to do it. You have to be able to take losses. Go home with them. It's okay. The market's going to be there. Opportunities will present themselves again. And that equity high is not a family heirloom that you've lost in a fire. It's not an insurmountable peak on a mountain that you're never going to be able to get back to. It's not Mount Everest. But what happens when you get in that condition where maybe you didn't foresee the difficulty in the price, and now you're in it, and you just know that trade that you're in, it just simply will not move, but it hasn't gone to your stop loss, but it won't move. It's giving you every indication it's not going to go for you, not in the manner that you want in terms of profits. It's probably going to go for your stop, but what do you do in that situation? Well, I can tell you as a young man, I was many times praying, God, please let this trade not stop me. Please let this trade go to my profit. And I promise I will stop trading this day. But I wasn't saying about overnight trading Globex. I didn't say anything about that. So technically, I was, being honest to some degree, but as soon as we cross midnight, I'm going to go right back at it again if he gets me out of it. And many times that prayer went unanswered. And I got stopped out. And I knew I should have got out of the trade, but I wouldn't take it off. What's the problem with that? And I hope you can appreciate me using my own examples and not talking about things hypothetically where you can feel victimized because you know you've gone through this yourself. But I want you to reflect on how you've endured this and what you were doing, what you were thinking, what you were dismissing as, no, that's just me not being patient for the trade. That's not me following a model. So I got to stick to my plan, my trading plan. Got to push my edge. See, when I was in those environments and in those trades, I didn't want to get out because I was afraid if I got out, I'd be wrong. And you probably hear YouTubers or see people type it out in their Discord rooms, their Telegram channels. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, whatever medium they would use, or maybe a Twitter space like this. And you hear them or read them say, I know as soon as I get out of this, it's going to move. When they say those things, they're channeling ignorance. They're manifesting it. They're basically showing you their cards that they don't know what they're doing. Because if they did know what they were doing, it wouldn't matter if they got out and it moved. When I was a younger man and I fell victim to this, I was afraid to get out of the trades, even though I knew they were against me. The probabilities have shifted. Are you aware of it while you're in a trade? That's what I'm teaching you. Those lessons can't be taught through a paragraph or a tweet with 130 characters or less. I can't do one single video and say, here it is. It's condensed in a nice little neat, easy ICT, real fast 5-minute trainer. The easiest way to do it, never have to worry about it again. That's the new flavor right now. You're not going to get it that way. You can't get it that way. It's something that has to be endured. Certain lessons have to be walked, and you have to feel it. You have to have that uncertainty. You have to know what it feels like to be in that environment and how you react in it. Some of you won't have these instances where you feel powerless to get out of it. You'll think, okay, well, this doesn't work anymore. Let me just kill the trade. That right there, that is excellence. I wish I had that when I was younger. I didn't. I did not have that. I had no one telling me, like I'm telling you right now, listening, that's what you want to do. Believe me when I tell you that is the answer. That's the solution. That's the thing you're supposed to do. And you're also indifferent to what happens after you get out. It's a bad relationship. What makes people go through all of the turmoil after they break up with someone? When it's a bad relationship and you break up, the person or persons spend all that time afterwards when you're no longer together and you're thinking, what could it have been if we stayed together? If he just would have stayed in our bed and not ventured out and did something else. If she would just understand me, you're doing something that isn't going to result in anything except for misery. So why do the same thing in your trading? That's what you're doing. You're recognizing, whether you realize it or not, even if you're new, you just know something's wrong. You are, but you won't admit it. Just like I couldn't admit it. My grandfather recently passed away at the time when I started. So I get all of this pressure placed on me as a young man, lost my father figure, lost my first wife, and I had something to prove. So I had all the most amazing disadvantages going into this. Plus, I hated where I was in life. So I know what it's like to feel pressure to change the way you are and where you are and how you live. I know what it's like to grow up and not have that family element supporting you. I know. Even being successful like I am now. For decades, my own mother didn't care. At some point, it doesn't matter. I don't worry about my mom. I don't worry about my father who's in prison I'll never be able to spend time with. They weren't supposed to have children. I wasn't supposed to be here. I was supposed to be aborted. But because a threat by my biological father, my mother gave birth to me and never raised me. You can have all of your disadvantages, all the excuses of why you think you won't be able to do this, and it's all a lie. That's something for you to reach for because you don't follow the rules. Because when I don't follow the rules, I fail. I can fail just like the newest person that starts in this. If I don't submit myself to the rules and engage when I'm supposed to engage and not engage when I'm not supposed to engage, because I know me. This is why you cannot learn this in a workshop over a week. You can't learn this in a month. You can't learn it in 120 days. You can't learn it in 6 months. You can't learn it in 1 year. But at 1 year, you get a good foundation, and that's when the real learning starts. And I have never, one time, sugarcoated that. And so many people out there are trying to take what I've taught and still actively teaching, and you're trying to condense it down to something to market it to people for the real fast approach. And I swear to God Almighty, if there was an easier, faster way, I would do it. It would come right out of my lips and it would be done. I wasted time in the beginning doing that. Just like those environments where if you get in a market environment where it's not conducive for a low resistance liquidity run, where it just runs real easy, like a hot knife through butter, just slices right through it, no problem at all, going right to where you knew it was going to go, and doing it faster than you were hoping it would do it. That's what I'm teaching you to look for. But they're not every day like that. Those exist sporadically in the right times, in the right settings. And because of all the uncertainty that we're seeing in the world right now, believe me, folks, we are witnessing the largest upheaval in the financial markets and financial systems, plural, globally. There has never been what we're about to endure. So you have to be careful. And I'm trying to be much more careful because of that. But if you get yourself in that situation, you may not believe in God, but somehow those 3 letters will come out your mouth. Oh, God. Oh, Jesus. It's funny. I've listened to Muslims doing live streams and they'll utter his name, which is interesting. What are you doing? You're looking outside yourself and you're resisting. You're resisting the very thing that your conscience is telling you to do. Get the hell out of that trade. You know what's coming. Regret, loss, pain. But you want to arm wrestle it. You don't want to seem weak. I'm going down. They're going to carry me out on my shield. Well done. You blew your account. Maybe not on that trade, but the 6 or 7 trades after that one, that's what's coming. Why? Because you arm wrestled in an environment that you can't win. See, my tools in the right setting are flawless. That's why I can be to the tick. But have you noticed that it's not every single day that it's like that? Now, wait. Stop right there. Your motto is every week, every day, and it won't stop. You're right. But the market you're trading, that particular market won't be every week, every day. This is always occurring every day and every week, somewhere. Oh, well, there's your out. Of course, I didn't say anything other than that. That's how it's always been. When I was teaching Forex and primarily focusing on Forex, I had 2 pairs. Euro might not go to the tick, but cable did. And vice versa. And there were some times where both those 2 pairs that I worked with my group, sometimes the Aussie dollar did something perfect. You can't have an everyday day trading expectation of precision. You can't. You're just starting, Okay? You can't do that. In the beginning, you have so many obstacles in front of you. You have no idea the difficulty in this. And it starts between your ears. And it remains between your ears. That 7-pound universe, that gray matter that we call our brain, has a wonderful, wonderful capability of telling you things at the wrong time. And sometimes it tells you exactly what you need to hear, and then you ignore it.
LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot stop your new clients from emailing you at 3 a.m.
So if you're in market environments where by rules, the ones I've taught you and I've even told you, and it breaks my heart to see these people tweeting to me, I lost this much money. I'm not trading. Why did you do it? You know your own reasons. And that's the thing that everybody has to learn about themselves. But you want to pretend that you're not going to be that person. You're not going to be one of those statistics that have all these other flaws inside them. Some of you may have mental illnesses that are beyond the scope of mine. And you'll have to wrestle harder and do things much more. Well, the word escapes me. It'll be harder for you. But you won't know that. You won't know that until you go through it. And buying courses and watching my videos or watching anybody else's videos or using this application they've created or following signals from somebody else, that will not make you exempt. No one's exempt from this. People fail because they don't incorporate their own flesh, because that's what's going to do you in. How many people do you know that educate, pretend to be a mentor, will sit out here and tell you their own flaws? They'll never do that. Because number one, that will put a damper on sales. It'll make you question, oh, maybe this isn't the person I need to learn from. I would counsel you, anyone in any industry, any kind of endeavor whatsoever, if they're willing to show you where their weaknesses are and if they can identify them and then navigate with them, that's someone you can learn from. I'm telling you, I wish to God I had someone like I'm trying to be for you. When I was coming up, there was no one. I had 4 VCR tapes with Larry Williams, and one Secrets of Short-Term Trading. He did like I don't know if he was a keynote speaker. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what it was. He was a keynote speaker for some event, and those are the tapes I had. I had a course by Don Fishback, 90% options trading, which is trash. Don, if you're listening, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it really was garbage. And the books that I wasted money on. And I said it many times before, why do I keep them? Because they have sentimental value. Not because there's any value between the covers of those books. But I spent a lot of money. I worked hard to make the money to buy those books over the years, collecting them. And I just can't bring it to throw them away. And they're not valuable enough to give to anybody. Say, here, I don't want to have this anymore. Here, you learn from this. Because it's all trash. It's all garbage. You want to hear how to do something? Let the story start with, here's what not to do. And if you want to find out real quick, if you're ready or someone else is ready to learn, if their attention span will not permit them to listen to someone tell you or others, this is what you want to avoid. You, that person listening that feels that way, you are the waste of time. You are. Because the point I've gotten to from the beginning of this discussion It's going to be far more harder than you think it's ever going to be. And I've told everyone that's ever listened to me in the last 3 years, this is extremely hard. 30 years I've been doing this. These candlesticks are not new to me. But the way the markets are behaving is. And anybody that's been trading for a longer period than 2 years, 3 years, some of you just now started. You have no idea what you're walking into and how much harder it is. Anyone that has been trading for a long period of time, and I'm saying 5 years or more, I think that's a fair amount of time. You're not new. And you have seen market environments that are not like this. You know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm referring to. And it's not some kind of cryptic message. This market is behaving differently. It is going to be hard for you to learn in this environment, but learning in this environment will make you so much better. So much better than it was for me. And we had, well, by definition, in terms of what we've seen in recent years in terms of volatility, it was like a snail's crawl. Where if you got 3 handles on the day, you did well. That was a good move in the morning. 3 handles. 3 handles. People's stop losses are bigger than that now. But that's the way it was back then. But the volatility you have today needs to be respected because it can do wild stuff in a short span of time. And you'll be in that situation praying to a God you never believed in. But now you're reaching for him now. And your heavens will be like brass. And sometimes it'll be for people that are believers in the same faith that I have. And you just want to get out of that situation. Oh God, please, please, please let this trade pan out for me. Please, please just let me not get stopped out on this one. I won't trade the rest of the week if I can just get this one. Lying. And that prayer gets unanswered because your heavens are like brass. What happens then? You look down and a new idea comes to mind. You're going to plant a seed again in that risk. But now the ground's like iron. You can't turn the soil over. You can't cultivate it. You can't put a new trade on because why? Fear, paralysis. What do you do in that situation? See, as a new trader, a new developing student, you don't know what to do. So what are you going to be left to do? Impulsive decisions? Well, let me just go in here and figure it out. I'll find my way through it. Yeah, right on through another blown account. Well done. How many times do you have to do that before you would learn a lesson? I watch people tweeting to others and me talking about doing that same thing in environments that I've openly said we're in low probability. They're trying to pyramid. They're trying to trade with larger leverage. They're trying to trade every session, every day, trying to trade every macro. ICT said between this time and this time, there's going to be a move. I'm getting in there, I'm doing it. Okay. You have to have some kind of premise to be acting on. You don't know what to expect. You're new. You have no idea what you're doing. Trying to engage in an environment that I'm not willing to touch myself. So what is that teaching you about yourself? You're reckless. You're reckless and you're impulsive. Are you willing to observe that and identify it? If that's who you are that's listening to me, are you willing to let yourself identify that weakness in you? Trust me, it's okay to identify weaknesses. You want to do that in the comfort of a demo. That's why I teach like this, folks. You have no idea who you are. You're going to get in these markets and think you're, well, I was going to say John Wayne, but that really dates me now, doesn't it? But you think you're John Wick. There you go. You think you're John Wick. You're going to go out there and get your ass wicked. and you're frustrated. Oh, I'll just reset my account. It's only $100 or so. And I was going to do the same thing I just did because all I did was enter too early or too late, or I put my stop loss in the wrong position. Wrong. You're trading in an environment that's not conducive for high probability, but you can't see that. You can't recognize that because you're not listening when the guy that's talking to you is telling you these things in advance. He's taking a road trip 1,100 miles away, not touching the market, but you're in there blowing your funded account. Where's the logic in that? But ICT, you're not the only one who can find profitable trades. You're right. But why are you trying to push with my concepts in an environment I'm not trying to touch? I've already said it. If you win, it's coincidence. And I know it's painful for some of you to hear that. Like, there's no way. It's not coincidence. It's skill. I'm a monster. I'm being made into a monster. So like you said I was gonna be a monster. Yeah, okay. But you don't want to wreak havoc on your own account. Like Godzilla stomping around in Tokyo, destroying everything. That's your equity curve. You just totally dismantled it. In a short span of time, in the last 2 weeks, how much damage have you done? Not me, not your broker, not the method or the concepts. How much damage did you do? Uh-oh. That's a roll call for responsibility. That nobody wants to take initiative and stand up and say, yeah, I did it. But the ones that are ready to do that, they're ready to learn. I ignored it too. I tried to find some kind of external reasons why I was failing as a young man. And I promise you, knowing what I know now, looking back, it was always me. There was no other contributing factor. It was me. And when you come to grips with that and you accept it, it's liberating. Because then and only then can you start fixing the issues. But you have to be able to identify them and stop ignoring them or pretending they're not there. That's the reason why you're not finding success. You're arm wrestling things that need to be dealt with in you, the person. Every single one of my failed students are failures because they themselves won't listen. Because if what I teach is flawed logic, it wouldn't be the fastest thing spreading all over the industry in terms of trading. People would not be passing all these funded accounts, getting on leaderboards, taking wild withdrawals from their efforts doing it. They would all be failing, wouldn't they? What are they doing differently? They're taking it serious. They're treating it like a business. They're not in there gambling. They're not in there thinking, well, all I gotta do is reset the account. All I gotta do is pay the $100 reset. If I get an affiliate program, I can do it and I don't have to pay for the resets. Think. Where are you in all of that? You have to find yourself, and I can't do it for you. No mentor can, no teacher can do that. You have to allow yourself the time to find out who you are, how you're going to derail yourself. And you will. And you'll know right when it's about to happen. And that's why you're supposed to journal. And for the folks that don't want to journal, oh, I ain't got time for journaling, man. I got money to make, man. I got time to be journaling. I ain't writing books. I guarantee you these people don't make money. Not consistently. I promise you they don't make money.
Hello, before I pan the camera to the left and show you what this is, we're going to talk a little bit about my...
But you have to have experience in determining where the market's not likely to go and where it's most likely to go. How much of a retracement is reasonable? So that way you can look for a trade that allows you to have a stop loss of less than 5 handles. Now, you've seen me use stops that are less than one handle. That's not necessary. 5 handles or less, I think that's a good baseline. The average inner circle trader student that's being trained with me this year, you'll be able to operate with that, and it'll be comfortable. It won't be, oh, this is too much risk. It's just too much. No, it's not. It's not too much at all. You have to at least assume some risk, folks. You know, it's just the way this business is. And if you're completely averse to taking on any kind of risk, you're not going to make it as a trader. And that's the God's honest truth. There's no way of sugarcoating it. That's just the reality of it. If you think that you can go through this industry and never have a loss, or you can't accept the fact that you can lose a lot over your career, money and transactions, and still be able to do okay. Again, if you can't warm up to that idea, speculation and as a trader, you won't make it. You have to accept that. You have to embrace that. And it's just the perception of how you've painted it, either fearfully or unrealistically. Because everything we do in life comes with risk. Your breath is not promised to you 10 minutes from now. Getting into a car to go down the street, get some milk. You know, you getting there and coming back safely is not guaranteed to you. A lot of things can happen between that inception and the terminus of you coming back into your home the way you left it. That's not guaranteed to you. But you dismiss it. Why? Because you've done it enough times. You have experience doing it. You're not worried about it. You know the same damn potholes. You could drive down that road without seeing it and know, okay, I'm going about this speed. We're coming close to that pothole. Because you've been there before. That's all trading is. I'm teaching you by watching these candles minute by minute to experience that. So that's where he's at. He had his first real push the button, pick it when you think it's going to do it. And he drew down, and I helped him on Friday to get it back to where it needed to be at. I didn't need to tell you that shit. And some of you are like, oh, well, this isn't as exciting as I thought it was. Did you think just because I was his father that he just fucking knew how to do this on his own? Like he was born with this? No, he doesn't know hardly anything about it. And it's my excitement to bring him up through it. But you have to let failure do its role. The very thing I tell you not to be afraid of, that you're trying to avoid, I'm putting him in a position where he will feel that. Because once he feels it, and that adversity of, okay, you think you know what you're doing, so show dad what you know. And he saw he was unable, like 3 minutes. And in fact, it was probably just a little bit under 3 minutes. He was squirming. He's like, why isn't it going up there? Well, I said, it is. It will. You just have to relax. I told him where it was going to go. And I said, you buy it in the next down candle, you buy it when you feel like it's time for you to push the button. But it has to be black. It has to be going down. I don't care how much from the time it starts turning black. In other words, when the candle's starting to go down and we're bullish and we're looking for a buy side liquidity pull, I said, you're going to buy the next down close candle. Why? Because what I was putting him in is already the institutional order flow was bullish. And I'm teaching you that down close candles will support price if order flow is bullish. And I told him, I said, this area right here, that is a fair value gap. It can trade into that. I don't care where you buy it in there. I don't care. But when you buy it, your stop loss has to go at that low. As soon as you push the button, you put the order in that's going to be a sell stop right below that low. And then you just wait and you watch it. And he just, as soon as the candle turned black and it started as a down closed candle was starting to form on the very next 1 minute candle, boy jumps in immediately. Wasn't even in the fair value gap. Didn't even trade into the fair value gap. And I said, is it in the fair value gap? Because no, I'm afraid I'm going to miss it. What the fuck? What are you talking about miss it? It didn't even get into the fair value gap yet. What are you doing? The rules were this. It has to trade down into that little range. Once it does that, the candle will be black. It's going down. It's a down closed candle forming. It has to drop down into that little barrier of high and low, that little segment that you understand listening to me as a student, that's a fair value gap. He can't spot them yet. And I'm teaching him. But he wants to do it pushing the button, which is what? The equivalent of most of you out there, start trading live. There's no better way to learn than to get out there and trade with a live account. That's fucking bullshit. You have no idea what you're doing. Just like he found out. Well, I asked him, I said, did it get into the fair value gap? He goes, I'm afraid it's going to move without me, Dad. I'm like, if it fucking moves without going down the fair value gap, who cares? Who cares if it does that? You missed it then. That's the whole point. Don't change the rules. Don't color outside the lines Dad's putting for you. This is what you're supposed to be doing. When it goes into that area, once it drops down into it, as soon as it gets in it, I don't care when after it does that. But as long as that candle's black, it's down. As long as it's not above its opening price, you can buy that. But it absolutely must trade in between these two lines, that fair value gap. He goes, what happens if it does it again? I said, then you can buy it again. He's only had one contract on. So can I do one more with this one still? I said, yes, you can do that. So it goes down. It touches the high end line. It doesn't go into the fair value gap. It just touches it. What's he do? Waits. It goes down into it some more. Now it's just above consequent encroachment. I'm waiting for him. It's like, okay, now he's going to push the button. No. It goes back outside the fair value gap, goes above the opening price, and starts another candle that's green. It's starting to run higher. Then he buys it. I said, what did you just do? He goes, I bought another one. No shit. I see you did that, son. But why did you do that then? Because I saw it go down there, like you said, but I wanted to see if it was going to go up after it went down there, because I was afraid if I bought it down. I said, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? The fact that it went down there like you were expecting it to, the fact that I told you to buy it when it went in there, that was the rule. The rule was you do that, and you can't buy it after it goes above its opening price. What part of that didn't you understand? He goes, I understood it, but it makes sense more for me to see it go away from it. I said, but by doing that, do you understand that you just opened up more risk? What do you mean? I only bought one more. You bought another contract, yes, but the stop loss that you're utilizing is now further away from that entry. You've incurred more potential open risk. Do you understand that? No. You bought at a higher price than you should have. You paid too much money for it. And you're using a stop loss down at a low that makes sense for the structure on this chart. It's sound where it's at. It's not allowing for a lot of risk. It makes sense for the stop loss to be right where I told you to be. But now, because you bought it above and it started running away, you bought it at an expensive price. You bought it at a premium. That's not what you do. You don't do that. So he didn't like the idea that he did that wrong. And he didn't like the fact that I was correcting him and telling him, you didn't listen, you did it wrong. And if this market were a trade that I'm not putting you in, this could be easily retracing back down to that stop loss if you don't know what you're doing. And you took a larger loss than you would have done if you followed the rules. Do you understand that? He goes, yeah, I understand. And of course, he feels deflated and stuff. And I told him, I said, this is all part of this. And Dad's going to correct you when you do shit wrong. But don't take it personal. I love you. I want to see you do well. But you have to listen. And don't feel bad, because I have all these people around the world that most of the time these motherfuckers don't listen either. Okay? It's normal. I'm the same way. Don't do this. I'm going to do it a dozen times. Okay? It's normal. You're learning how hard this business is. In your mind, you want to feel like you're doing it the right way when Dad's telling you the right way. You don't have the experience of seeing it being the right way. You want to do your way. And your way is through ignorance, and you have no idea what the hell you're doing. So that part of it, well, it was uncomfortable for him. And my obsessive compulsive fucking flipped out. And I kind of feel bad looking back at it now, because I'm giving you a more tamer, like really dialed down, because I zapped. I was like, What the fuck did you just do there? Why'd you do that? Why did you just do that? Because I wanted to know it was going to go up. Because if it didn't go up from the fair value gap, if it would have kept going lower, I would have took a loss. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. If you're wrong, that's what you're paying the stop loss to do. That's exactly what it's there for, to limit your loss. Not say, okay, this is where I think I'm wrong. Let me buy it at a higher price so that way I can take more of an ass chewing when I'm wrong. That's what you are trying to avoid. That's the analyst is supposed to be kicking your ass right now. And I'm the analyst because you don't have the experience. I'm jumping your shit right now because you did exactly what I told you not to do. You did exactly what I told you not to do. I told you to buy it as soon as it gets in the fair value gap, and I gave you free reign to buy it anytime inside that fair value gap. As long as the candle's down, it's black, and it's in between these two lines, you have the control. You're holding the wheel. You push the button. You buy it. As soon as it gets in there, it's on you. The stop loss is where I told you to put it at. Done. And what did you do? You waited for it to go down there. You waited for it to leave it. And then you waited for a new candle to open up, and it's running higher. And you bought that. That is chasing price. You buy and down close candles, son. All the time. If you do that, that will save your ass more times than it will hurt you. You'll do it wrong sometimes and it'll still go lower and hit your stop loss. But by far and large, that will save your ass. You do not buy a fucking candle after fair value gap and an expansion begins. You don't do that. Because it can retrace and do what? Go right back into that fair value gap deeper, completely close it in, or go to your stop, and you've incurred larger loss than is necessary. So, for some of you that think that, oh man, I wish I was his son. Man, it would be so awesome. No, you have no idea. I'm like a fucking drill sergeant because this shit matters to me. And if you're going to do it and you're going to train with me, you're going to be fucking told this is the wrong fucking way to do it. And you're doing it wrong. And you're going to be told that you're doing it wrong. And you need to understand it's uncomfortable to do that wrong. Otherwise, if I just let him feel like, well, that's good. Explore yourself, son. You know, sow your oats. Go out there and find yourself in the chaos of price action. Figure it out on your own. Forget it. There's rules. There's rules of engagement, and I know he has about a 95% chance of probability. Unless I literally put him in the trades and guide him on every single one of them, he's going to shit the bed on this. And I'm comfortable letting him do it. I could sit here and let him do this and the public know nothing about it. But I want you to know this is what it's like. You'll learn from it. He's going to learn from it. What I suspect is going to happen is his first losing trade, he's going to say, Dad, can you help me? To which I will say, help you how? I'm going to remind you of the rules. I'll sit with you and tell you what you're about to do. Is it inside the rules I gave you? I'll tell you where it's going to go as a draw on liquidity. But your entry, you are afraid. And I can't make you overcome that until you do it. You do it. After we were done and we were having something to eat in the afternoon on Friday, he says to me, he goes, Dad, are you upset with me? I said, nope, I'm not upset at all. The trade's done. It's over. You're my son. I love you. But you're going to have to learn to follow the rules. Because when you mess up, Dad's going to jump your shit like that. Because it matters. You have to have a response that you remember, oh shit, that was not comfortable. Because you're not feeling any monetary loss right now. So the only thing you're feeling is you did not follow the rules, yes. It didn't take anything out of your pocket, no. But Dad jumped your ass. So that emotional response to not following the rules, there's nothing wrong with that. You got taken to the woodshed. I take my students to the woodshed all the time. I jump all your asses all the time because I love all of you. I want to see you do well. If I sit back and let you do this dumb shit all the time, figure it out on your own, dumb shit. Push a button in a live account. Learn how to trade with a live account. Fucking dumb shit. You're going to fail. All you're doing is guaranteeing you're going to fail. So I told him, I said, listen, let's go back over your rules. Okay. Let's consider what it is that we're trying to build in you. Okay. So how to pass the $50,000 funded account challenge. There's a company out there that offers this threshold for funding. You're not getting $50,000. You're not getting that. Okay. And they have a cost of, one of them is $165. And I guess if it's taxed, then I don't know if they use the local tax rate or whatever, but we'll just say it's Maryland tax and 6%. And this called around the number of $175. Okay. So it's going to cost you out of pocket $175. The profit target on the $50,000 is 6%, which is $3,000, which is Mickey Mouse shit. Anybody can find that over the course of 4 weeks. Now, notice I said 4 weeks. Just because they say you have to have a minimum of 5 days profitable trading before you can get your first payout, that is not an invitation like most of you are seeing it as. Okay, it's a short little race. We got to do it in 5 days. Everything has to be completed in 5 days. Who said that? That's why I was very specific about asking, is there a threshold for time? You have to have it met. You have to get your profit target by this amount of trading days before the end of the month, or in a week, or in 10 days, or something to that effect. And you don't need a lot of time to do this, by the way, but the profit target is 6% of the $50,000 or $3,000. They offer you and tell you that you can trade up to 5 contracts. Scratch that shit the fuck off, okay? Don't even think about that. That's absolute lunacy. Don't even touch that. Don't do that, okay? I can go in there and do that, but that's not the same as you. You want to use 1 contract, because this is all about getting bread and butter, secondary source of income. That's what you want to try to do, right? Because if this is Lambo fucking lifestyle, okay, Forex lifestyle, or whatever the hell those guys are with the 3 cheap ass laptops on YouTube, if you think that that's the way you want to go in life, that's fine. Go ahead and chase that. What I'm trying to do is give you the working class hero approach, because that's how you're starting right now. Most of you don't know what you're doing. And I'm not trying to promise or entice you into thinking you're going to get rich. That's always a possibility if you push it, but nobody's promising you that here. If you can make your car note, if you can make your rent payment, your mortgage payment, or a large percentage of it, you're winning. And don't let anybody tell you you're not. Because if you don't have it in your pocket every month right now, and you can find that through this, what do you call winning? Because I think that's a win. The max loss, they tell you, is 2%, which is $1,000. And the maximum ruin, we'll call it that way, 4%. So if you shit the bed $2,000, you pretty much failed the whole thing. That's my interpretation of it. It might not be that finite, but that's what I'm going to talk with here, because that's the rules I basically framed it with him being my son, Cameron. So let me ask you a question. If the daily max loss is $1,000 and you're trading 1 mini contract, 1 mini, that means every full handle move, every 4 ticks, is a $50 price fluctuation in terms of profit and loss for you. How many handles can you take as a loss in 1 day with 2% or $1,000? 20. Have you ever fucking seen me ever outline a trade that has a 20 handle stop loss? No. Nope. I'm teaching you how to engage with a 1 minute chart. 5 handles is a very nice, safe, round number where most of your stops will be less than that. It'll be less than that. But don't be afraid if it is a 5 handle stop loss. And there's a lot of snobbery with these new folks that are coming into the trading industry. Yeah, it's got to be an ultra small stop loss, or it's just not civilized. Get the fuck out of here. Listen, a stop is relative to the market structure that it's framing the setup in. So to have this